Wow. NFL Week 6 Survivor League might be the worst week in Survivor history from what I've seen. So many teams that were favored and heavy favored went down. The Chargers shouldn't have even won that game against the Broncos. They got lucky. There were so many casualties that week. If you were able to pick the Rams and had them saved, then that definitely brought you forward to week 7. Eagles too, and maybe some other picks. But wow, if you're still standing in your league, you got a good shot to win this all. Let's get into this week's picks. As the season progresses, looking at 8 teams now instead of the normal 7. So here are the teams that we're looking at in week 7. And then, as always, take a look at the schedule, see what teams you like. But at this point in the season, and the way the NFL is going, it seems like don't worry about what's happening in week 10 and beyond. Worry about winning this week, let alone weeks ahead. So it's been so tough. It seems like the best strategy at this point might just be going with the best team available, um, uh, based on who you still have left. Everyone's different, but man, this has been a tough year. So here are the teams that you should proceed with caution with. But again, it seems like it might be every team the way the NFL has been going this year. But the first one I want to talk about is the Bengals at home against the Falcons. The Bengals are, they played well against the Saints. They battled, and that was definitely a trap game. I think the Saints should have ended up winning, but Bengals almost ended up being too much. The Falcons, number one, they've covered in every game this year, so they've either won or kept it close in every single game. This seems like a big spread for me for a team that's been playing as well as the Falcons have on both sides of the football. Bengals obviously have their offensive line struggle, so there's holes in that team too. I just think -6 is a lot here for how well the Falcons have been playing, even though this game's on the road. Um, I mean, I do think the Bengals win this game. I'm still like I'm not completely sold on the Falcons, but you are what your record says you are in the NFL, especially against the spread. So the Falcons keep games close, and they have it all season long. When are they going to stop? I don't know. I just don't want to be caught, and don't want you guys to be caught losing your Survivor League because the Falcons kept another close one with the Bengals and upset them on the road. So something to keep an eye on with how well this Falcons team's been playing. Another game, the Ravens at home against the Browns. I think again 6.5 here. A lot of the way the Ravens have been playing. Um, the more I think about it, I mean, it kind of makes sense because one thing the Browns really cannot do when they were exposed against the Patriots is stop the run game. And that's exactly what the Ravens want to do all day long. They want Lamar Jackson throwing the ball as little as possible. That being said, this Ravens defense has not looked good all season long. If you're losing to the Giants, it means your defense is not doing a good enough job because outside of Saquon Barkley, the Giants do not have that much talent. They're very devoid of talent on offense. So this Ravens passing game, especially with Rashad Bateman's absence and their defense being lackluster, makes them a little bit susceptible against a divisional opponent here. It's good that they're coming off a loss. That helps their cause a little bit. But obviously, you guys know I don't like divisional games. A lot of the games that lost last weekend were on the road. The Packers were, Jesus Christ, what happened there? But, you in general want to stay away from road games and divisional games. So this is one maybe to keep an eye on. But suspect Lamar Jackson, this Ravens team, to run over the Browns if they're going to win this game. The final one I want to talk about is the Dolphins at home against the Steelers -7. The reason this line is inflated or -7 the way it is because that Tua is expected to start this game. But with the injury history he's had in the past few weeks, this Steelers defense is known for having big defensive front seven that can get at the quarterback, even without TJ Watt at times. They did a good job against the Buccaneers last week. One big hit and two was out of this game, and you're throwing in your backups. And then is it really a good survivor pick at that point? I think the Steelers, they definitely felt disrespected at 1-4, the lines they're getting. And, it was at home, it was definitely time for them to show up. And that's something it's easy to say in retrospect. I really didn't think it was going to happen, but because I think Tom Brady was due for another win. But when push comes to shove, Mike Tomlin is a great football coach. But that being said, if Tua gets knocked out of this game, this is a coin flip game, if not favoring the Steelers. So that's something that scares me here. I also, Tua's first game back is going to have the yips. He's going to be himself. How's his offense going to look? Just a little bit of warning there. I still think the Dolphins are a pretty safe pick here, but something that makes me a little bit nervous because one hit early in the game and that changes everything. It's not like he has to get hit that hard. Like you can argue, you can say that about any quarterback if they get knocked out. That's a different game. Yes, it is, but given to a circumstance, it's a lot more likely that he can get knocked out. So that's just something that's on top of my mind here. The best pick for the first time this season is not the team favored by the most this year. It is the New England Patriots Monday night against the Bears. This might surprise some people, but again, some people probably are thinking, well, what can you expect out of the Bucks? And they're on the road against the divisional opponent, so do you really like that? But with the Patriots here, there's a lot of reasons. Belichick and prime time, incredible record, first of all. Number two, Belichick and the run game. You saw him run all over the Browns. The Bears have one of the worst, I think the worst front seven in football statistically, and one of the worst run defenses. So the Patriots are going to run all over the Bears, just like they did with the Browns. They're going to throw some exotic schemes out there on defense and make Justin Fields look silly and throw picks, just like they did with the Browns. They're not going to have to pass the ball, but when they're going to pick and find their opportunities and make Zappe look like a pretty decent quarterback, just like the Patriots did with the Browns. The reason this is the best pick is because no matter the personnel of the Patriots, with Bill Belichick, you can know to expect a few things. One of those three things is he's going to beat bad teams. Another one of those few things is that he is going to bring out the worst in an opposing team's quarterback. Justin Fields, who already looks not great out there, is going to look a lot worse when you face his Patriots defense because he's going to see something that he's never seen before, and he's really going to struggle, in my opinion. That's just my prediction. So I love the Patriots at home under the lights in Gillette on Monday night here. Best value, I wanted to say the best value was also the Patriots because there's not a ton of times you pick them either. But upon further review, it is the Las Vegas Raiders, who, according to the record, not a great football team, but they're playing a team that is a lot worse according to the record, and that's the Texans. I don't love this pick for the fact that, you, especially with the way this season's been going, you shouldn't be taking teams as bad as the Raiders in Survivor until it gets a little bit later, or you pick your spots. But this year, it doesn't seem like you're going that deep in Survivor, and maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like you're going that deep with how many upsets have been coming in and week out. I'm not saying that the Raiders are looking in a position to lose this game. I like how they're coming off a bye week, but so are the Texans. And teams that don't have still have zeros in the win column get a little bit hungrier each week and play games a little bit tougher just because it's demoralizing to have a record like that. So that kind of scares me. But that being said, no matter what, you will never see the Raiders -7 again this season, and barring an injury to some opposing quarterback down the road. But the way things stand now, you will not see the Raiders favored by a touchdown again this season, and that's what makes them the highest value. They're never going to play a team that doesn't have a win, and they're also playing them on a road or at home. I'm sorry. The Raiders will never have an easier home matchup all year long. That's what makes them the best value. Look at the schedule here. I'm not seeing anything that really pops off that I would think I really want to pick the Raiders later in the season. On the road, they have some fairly tough opponents, especially good defenses. At home, Indianapolis, they're going to love to run the ball against them. Chargers, they don't look good, but it's still a divisional matchup. New England, I think New England wins that game. On the road at Pittsburgh, the Raiders aren't a good enough team to say that they beat them. They have the same amount of wins. So Raiders best value here. I mean, if you're really dying to try to scheme on your league and, play the strategy game, it's a good pick. But I can't imagine there were too many people left in your league after these last few weeks. So just something to consider. Talking about the Bucks, I still think if you somehow haven't picked the Bucks yet, I think it's still a great pick. It's just divisional game on the road, and I just don't know what to expect out of this Bucks team anymore. It still scares me. That being said, I would be still shocked they lost this game. Tom Brady doesn't seem to lose too often, especially not in a row. Always good to pick Tom Brady in a bounce back game, especially against a pretty inferior team, and one without a lot of identity like the Panthers. They just seem to be in shambles right now. So I think it's still a good pick. I just can't call it the best pick with the way that Tom Brady and this Bucks offense and defense has been playing. It's just can't do it. Lions here at hosting the Cowboys. I love it because Dak Prescott's coming back. This Cowboys defense is so dang good. Lions offense is pretty solid, but when you go going up against a pass rushing defense of the Cowboys certainly neutralizes it. And this Lions defense is Swiss cheese. Zeke, Pollard are going to run all over him. Dak is at a great game to come back and try to throw the ball against these guys. Michael Gallup getting more and more reps week in and week out. I think you see the Cowboys, beat up in the Lions here. I like this. Couldn't call it the best pick because you never know how a guy's going to come back from injury. The Lions have a good offense, so you never know in a team like that. But I still really like this pick for the Cowboys here. And then finally, the Packers playing the Commanders, lovingly known as the Commies by me and some others. I, I mean, how can you pick the Packers if they lost the Jets on the road? It takes some guts, but I think the Packers, I would be shocked if they lost this game. This just seems like a classic Aaron Rodgers relaxed moment, not going to lose 3 straight. They're playing a Commanders team that couldn't put up points or yards against the Bears, and they had to rely on the turnovers, which again, the Packers don't do that often. So it's going to be an ugly game for sure, but I would almost bet my life the Packers don't lose this one. This one seems like, throw out everything you know about the NFL, the Packers lose this game. As always, take a look at the schedule. But again, like, how far ahead in the future are you really looking with, these teams that are favored by 8 points are losing left and right. These teams, you think you have the NFL figured out, and you never know. So definitely be careful out there. I advise to take, as close to the best pick as you can every week, just because this season has been crazy. So that being said, good luck in week 7. I hope to God I see you guys in week 8, and this is a much easier week, but you never know. So be careful out there.